Welcome, everybody, inside the coach's office. I'm your host, Dan Murphy. Your regular co-host, Brian Barnes, is off tonight, but in to help me out is my co-host from the MSC Pro Football Weekly Show and an OG of Michigan Sports Entertainment. It's Dustin Whitehead. Dustin, how's it going?
It's going good. How about yourself?
Good. So we're going to get into, you wrote an article for Michigan Sports Entertainment a few days ago, kind of outlining a Detroit Lions offseason, kind of doing like a mock. Kind of like you see a lot of mock drafts. This is kind of like a mock entire off season. Before we kind of get into like all the ins and outs of that and going over the draft and potential free agents, Lions finish 9-8, finish in last place. A very disappointing season. Still a winning season, fourth straight winning season for the Lions, but ultimately incredibly disappointing considering it was, a kind of a Super Bowl or bust type season, and that's kind of where they're at right now. Where do you think, if you had to pinpoint, just a few things, where do you think it kind of went wrong for the Lions this season?
Brian Flores. I mean, getting swept by the Vikings does not help. I mean,
No.
Jared Goff is like top three in like almost every passing stat you could think of. Like, had a great statistical year, and like his two bad games came against Brian Flores. And going into that last little stretch, I don't think it was talked about as much because everyone, he became a dirty player and all that. But Brian Branch, losing him after the Cowboys game, I mean, the defense, like, it's hard to imagine the Steelers would have ran the way they did if Brian Branch played. So there's that. And what else was there? Yeah, it's just like the defense, the injuries came across, and, it happens to everybody, but it really stinks when it attacks the whole team.
Well, yeah, the Brian Branch injury, I think, was the final straw. I think they could survive to some point, or at least would have. I feel like it would have came down to that last game against the Bears had Branch not gotten injured.
It's hard to imagine if he played, they wouldn't have won either the Steelers or the Vikings game.
Probably both, because if they win the Steelers game, I think it's just a totally different vibe going into that Vikings game. Once they got their hearts ripped out against Pittsburgh, and to have to try to bounce back 3 days later, go on the road, play Minnesota on Christmas Day, they just weren't in it. I mean, obviously they didn't show up clearly, and that's really the first game I think under the Dan Campbell regime where we saw a Detroit Lions team truly not show up for a game. We've seen them getting beat where maybe they got into a game with like a bad game plan, in the past, and it just got beat. Like, it's not that they didn't show up. They just got beat, But that game against the Vikings, they truly did not show up in that one.
No, that quarterback, whatever his name is from Minnesota, was so bad that 5 turnovers, and the sixth one is what cost him the game. It's kind of crazy.
They had 3 passing yards. 3 total.
Well, he had negative net.
They lost the game by 2 scores.
It's just crazy. Not a great holiday year for Detroit Lions sports fans.
No. Thanksgiving and Christmas. And last year they lost on Thanksgiving to Green Bay. So maybe just not playing on a holiday.
That was 2 years ago. They finally won a game last year on Thanksgiving under Dan Campbell. What was that, the Bears maybe? It's hard to remember, but yeah. But under Dan Campbell, they're like 1-4 or 1-4 on Thanksgiving.
That's right. 23 was the Green Bay. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Thank you for correcting me. Yeah, last year was the Bears game where they could have lost. Yeah, the Bears time management, which ended up getting their head coach fired. Which ended up getting Ben Johnson there.
It was like Matt Patricia 2.0. Getting fired after Thanksgiving. Did he get fired like that weekend? Because it was so bad.
Yeah.
Rough.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, that's kind of what put the season down. I mean, there's so many things. So I think everybody tries to pinpoint one thing or try to pinpoint one person or put the blame on one coach or one player. But ultimately, it's just a combination of all of it. I mean, you start off, you lose both coordinators, and not only do you lose both coordinators, but you lose a ton of your assistant coaches along with it. I mean, almost the entire staff you got to replace. Then the Frank Ragnow retirement, which was just an absolute killer. And I think we all knew
it was after the draft officially.
Yeah, after the draft, which after the draft and after free agency, like it's really hard to kind of plan for that. You would have hoped that Brad Holmes would have had some type of insight into it, but it's starting to feel like now that you're hearing things, it's like maybe they weren't really that
Yeah.
as prepared, as they probably should have been. And then then you have all the injuries. It's just John Morton wasn't ready to be a offense coordinator. That was a
I'm in the
huge
minority on
shift
it, but I
too.
thought he did okay. Like, I don't know. I feel like they had that Commanders game plan, the first game that Campbell called, written up for like since the playoff game the year before. And I feel like he did fine. I feel like he was getting into it, but I don't know. I've heard things about JMO and how he doesn't really respect coaches unless they're like former players and like stuff like that. And I don't think they meshed, and I think that was a big part of it. And I think that's kind of why Dan Campbell pushed their relationship so much. At least
Well,
the 5 years for me.
obviously, I mean, Campbell felt enough to take over the play calling. So
Yeah,
there has to be
I don't hate it. I'm just
more
saying,
there.
there's more to it for sure. But like, I don't feel like he's doing terrible. But like, maybe this wasn't connecting with all the guys. So I'm not entirely sure. Like, we're not in the locker room or in the front office, but it's just, I don't know. Like I said, I'm in the minority on it. It's kind of an odd take, I guess, to even defend him. But I didn't think he did terrible.
But either way, whether you thought he did okay or
Yeah.
not, for Campbell to have to take over play calling, that was a huge
Mhm.
aspect because now he's got to be the offense coordinator along with being
Yeah.
the head coach. And when you also have a first year defense coordinator, who's a young coach in general, and Shepard, and now you can't kind of oversee him and oversee the defense maybe as much as Campbell would have liked. And because you got to really put your focus on on the offensive play calling, the offensive game planning, maybe more than he would have normally. So all those factors. I mean, there's so many things.
The sloppy in-game management,
Yeah.
like he's trying to call the plays, but then like you're gonna throw a challenge flag, or you're gonna should we do this? Like, oh, that was bad. I feel like at least maybe 6 out of the 8 games that they had to burn a timeout, like for like the play clock running out and everything. Like it's a lot going on. I mean, if you're not used to doing it, not everyone's his mentor, Sean Payton or whatever.
Yeah. So just multiple issues, multiple different things. As I said, I don't think there was one thing that you can point out that ruined their season, but it was multiple things, and it just became too much to overcome. And then as the injuries started to pile up, and as we said, Branch was just the final straw. I mean, once he went out, the defense just completely fell apart on both ends. I think a lot of people underestimate how important he is in the run game, and once he went out, you just saw that their safeties, just those backup safeties, just could not.
He's a Swiss Army knife, and Avonte Maddox, he did okay, and Thomas Harper, he did okay, and honestly, I don't even really, even with those, hopefully Kirby will come back okay, but if Kirby's gonna come back okay, and Branch has to miss the first 4 weeks next year, I'm not really worried about drafting a safety. I think that the veterans actually showed enough, but they're not those guys. They're not, you're not Brian Branch, you're not Kirby Joseph, but I feel like they did decent.
Maybe at times, maybe in coverage, but especially in that Pittsburgh game,
no, that was
more when I talk about like run fits, and that's, I think a lot of people underestimate how important that is safety coming up in the run game and getting in the right position, because you have to be able to understand what's going on within that front seven and where you need to fit as a safety, with how a different play develops, because it changes based on what the run play is. It's going to change by how your guys are getting blocked, and you have to be able to read that and then fit in correctly. Right. And I thought the safeties that stepped in for Branch and Kirby just they weren't it, man. They weren't it. They were not it in the run game, and you saw some plays that just went out the gate, and especially in that Pittsburgh game, he had 2 45-yard runs in that second half that really, I mean, those runs, those big touchdown runs really were the death nail in the Lions.
And then I think that's the game where it was like the second play of the game. Maybe I think it was where Thomas Harper got the concussion. Was that the Pittsburgh game too? So that probably made it even worse, where you're just throwing guys in. And I think that same week, a safety got signed off, like that they've been bringing up to the active roster, got signed to a standard contract with the Tennessee Titans, and so like they were just, it was like just random player after random player after that. I mean,
and have so many injuries to the safety position. It's just
Right.
like if you have injuries and it's more spread out, you have like an injury here, injury there to different groups of your team, but they have so many injuries into your secondary. I mean, if you look at what their secondary was supposed to be going into the season and then what it ended up,
Yeah.
by the end of the season, I mean, there was just nobody left. There was
No.
nobody left.
And Ali McNeil, I mean, coming back off that ACL, I mean, they say they normally do better after year 2, so hopefully he'll be himself and be worth the contract that he signed. But he was struggling near the end. I think he had another minor injury that sat him out the Bears game maybe at the end. But, he's one of their keys going forward too, because, when you give a guy $28 million, you need that.
And he's supposed to be anchor.
Yeah.
Shut the run games down. And the fact that the Lions were just getting gashed in the second half of the season, you were hoping that Lee McNeil was going to come back and be at least close to the player that he's been.
Right.
And he just wasn't. I mean, he just wasn't. And that's a lot to put on. I mean, that was kind of my concern going into the season too with the defense, that you're putting a lot on Hutch to come back and be an MVP caliber player,
Right.
but he's coming off a gruesome broken leg. And then you're relying on Lee McNeil to come back mid-season and be a stud like he has been, but he's coming off an ACL. Like, that's a lot to put on. I know they're world caliber players, but they're coming off some serious injuries, and they were putting a lot on those guys. And Hutch had a good year, but he didn't have, the year that he's had, previous to the injury.
He's probably the 5th or 6th best edge and got second team All Pro, so it kind of reflects it, right? But you want more. A lot of his sacks that he was close to getting, like El Medine Mohammed or whatever, he kind of stole them from him. I think he's going to continue to keep coming back. But
oh yeah,
he
just felt like he was just maybe, I wouldn't even say a step slow, just a half a step. Just a half a step off, and that could be the difference. I mean, and that could be the difference. So,
and we didn't mention the Branch's injuries in Achilles, so that's
brutal.
That's kind of scary. I mean, maybe I should change my thought process on it, because they do need to draft one or sign a better veteran. But I don't know if he's not playing. I mean, maybe next year could be disappointing too, but we'll see. I believe he'll be back. You just never know. Achilles
for a guy in the secondary.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough. Especially the way he plays. So what makes him so good is his explosiveness.
In the time of the year that it happened,
coming from the safety position. Yeah, and it was late in the year. Yeah. I mean, it's a long recovery time from torn Achilles. So it's going to be tough, man. It's going to be tough. But despite all of that, they still finished, like we said, with a winning record. Somehow they finished with a winning record. And, a play here, a play there goes their way. They're in the playoffs. But unfortunately, they're not. And they finish, which is crazy. They finished 9-8, but finish in last place. I think it's the toughest division in football, the NFC North.
Better than NFC West. Yeah. I'd say the North for sure, because the Cardinals exist, but those 3 teams all got it.
Yeah,
in the playoffs.
And definitely better than the NFC South, who everybody in the division finished with a losing record, the complete opposite of the NFC North, which is just crazy, man, just crazy.
Can't predict it.
But as we head forward, Dustin, we come off this 9-8 season, and as he wrote a pretty extensive article, looking at the Lions offseason. Like, let's start with the coaching staff. Obviously, the big thing right now is the offense coordinator search. Several big names that are out there and available, but the big one that everybody kind of wants and is looking for is Mike McDaniel, from Miami Dolphins head coach, who was fired a couple weeks ago, and he's getting interviewed by everybody. I mean, he's getting interviewed for coaching jobs. He got interviewed with the Lions for the offense coordinator job. Also got interviewed with Tampa Bay offense coordinator job. What are your thoughts, Dustin, on McDaniel and maybe some other names that the Lions are potentially looking at?
I mean, I would love it, but it's hard to see it coming to fruition. I mean, there's still 8 jobs available right now, and he could probably get one of those jobs. I wouldn't be shocked at all. I mean, he's one of the better coaches that got fired. And if he did get an offensive coordinator job, there's competition. I mean, he interviewed for Tampa. He interviewed for the Eagles. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I would rank the Lions OC job above the Eagles, but it's close. Like, I could see Martin being like, "Oh, they just won the Super Bowl last year," so we'll see. I know I saw that they have interviewed also Arthur Smith, Zach Robinson, Mike Kefka, who was the Giants interim head coach in the game that the Lions played, passing game coordinator for the Seahawks, Jake Peets, and QB coach T. Martin that was on the Ravens. So they're trying to do a wide search. It's not like last year. They're not just doing like one or two and being like, okay, John Morton, my friend, come do this for me. They're trying to find someone that has some ability to run this offense. And, you know, in Dan Campbell's last press conference, he mentioned, like, you know, I don't want to have to find a new offensive coordinator every year, and, you know, but I mean,
well, that's kind of, I mean, if you're going to have to look for a new offense coordinator every year, that means you're hiring some pretty good ones.
that's what I'm saying.
You know,
So it's like, you know, yeah, you can do it yourself, but like, I mean, if it allows you to be better at the overall game and you're doing your job, I mean, I don't see why you would keep that role unless it's more of a confidence in yourself, which obviously he has, and, you know, his mentors, like I mentioned, Sean Payton and the whole entire division, you know, all these guys call the plays, so you don't want to feel less than. But honestly, going into this year, people would rank him as the best, and I still think it's arguably all four of them are top 10 coaches. But I mean, you can pick your order still. I mean, it's not like Ben Johnson's running away. It's not like the terrible Matt LaFleur is running away. It's, you know, it's not like Kevin O'Connell's running away. So I mean, do what you gotta do. I mean, hire somebody, pick somebody. And Mike, going back to Mike McDonald, I think that would be McDaniel. Sorry, Mike McDaniel. That would be an amazing fit. I think he would. And they had training camp experience, and they did joint practices before the year together, so they kind of know each other a little bit.
Yeah, and he talked pretty glowingly about the Lions offense back during those practices when they, you know, during the press conferences and whatnot. And you could tell he and I'm sure standing on their sideline and watching, because the Lions tore him, at least the first day of those
The reports were that first
tore
practice was like, this is the worst, like not worst, but this is the biggest butt kicking of a joint practice I've ever seen. Like, that was like every beat reporter from both teams.
Yeah. Yeah, so, you know, McDaniel saw that from the other side and had to be drilled a little bit of like, man, what would it be like to coach those guys? You know, coach that type of speed and that type of talent. And you wonder, like, he's obviously, you know, interviewing for these head coaching jobs.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, like, do you look, if you're McDaniel, do you think, like, okay, if I go to the Lions and I can take this offense, I can have the number one offense in the NFL.
And be the number one candidate for a job next year.
Exactly. And you know, have this offense explode, that maybe they make a good playoff run. Obviously a Super Bowl run, but just to say a deep playoff run, and you have the number one or at least a top five offense in the NFL, you can parlay that to a better head coaching job. You know, like, absolutely. He wasn't going for the Giants, you know, job this offseason. I know I think he got interviewed. I'm not sure if he got interviewed at Pittsburgh. I think he interviewed for Baltimore today.
I think he's interviewed for them and the Falcons, which those would probably be like the two jobs where I'd be like, you probably should take that if they offer to you. But
I don't know if he's going to get offered though.
That's what I'm saying. Like the Titans, I know he interviewed with them, and it's like, yeah, Cam Ward has some potential, and maybe he can make it work. So maybe you take that, but also.
But a job like that, like I'm looking at the Titans, I'm looking at the Browns. It's still too specifically. Like I think it's better to go take the offense coordinator job for the Lions. I agree. And try to parlay that for next year for a head coaching job.
Yep.
You know, like it just because you're sitting there, you're almost like
the job, potato job.
You take one of those jobs, it feels like you're doomed, man.
Right, but I'm like the head coaching jobs are like hot potato at this point, though. I mean, the longest tenured coaches now. We were talking about it, or I shared it. It was like Andy Reid, 2013, Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan, 2017, and Sean McDermott.
Sean McDermott, yeah. And then it's Campbell, right?
Yeah, and then it was like Matt LaFleur or something, and who knows about him, and the Bengals who never fire anybody, and then it was like the Eagles, like Nick Sirianni and Campbell. It's like, He's literally a top 7 tenured coach. That's crazy. 2022 wasn't that far ago.
Yeah, we're not going to see John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin type tenures. We might never see it again. I mean, the way the NFL, way college football and the NFL football works these days, man. It's just, what have you done for me lately, man? And it's, man, you're gone just like that.
That's sad. I mean, like the Jets, I know I'm still a big supporter of Aaron Glenn, and all the people are like, you should have fired him. You should have fired him. I'm telling you, just get through this upcoming year. Hopefully halfway through they show some promise. The following year they can draft their quarterback. And I'm telling you, if they hit on their trenches and rebuild, we'll be off and running with Aaron Glenn. But who knows if they'll have enough patience.
Yeah, they might not have enough time. I feel like he's got to at least show some serious improvement next year. Yep, he's going to be gone. I almost thought he might have been gone this year.
Yeah. Like I said, that's what that fan base wanted. So that's what Lions fans probably wanted after year one of Campbell. I mean, it is.
Halfway through the second year.
Yep.
There was a lot of questions. And then Sheila came out and had that press conference and gave a vote of confidence to him and Brad Holmes. And then they took off after that. But you wonder, man. You wonder if they didn't have that turnaround, in the second half of 22. You wonder, would they have stuck with them?
Yep. Maybe, but not if it was her father.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. He would have got an extension, probably. So we look at, we're kind of thinking, hopefully it's McDaniel. But we'll see. Like I said, if McDaniel gets a good head coaching job, gets a good offer, I think he kind of has to take it if it's one of those better opportunities. But if it's like the Browns or the Titans and he's got to weigh it between, let's say it's the Titans. Let's say he gets offered. That's the one that he gets offered.
Right.
And he's got to weigh that between that and the Lions. I think he should, and I think he will take the Lions offer.
It really just depends how much he believes in Cam Ward. They have nothing else besides Jeffrey Simmons. So it's a long process job. And what we just talked about is you don't really get to keep the job after the long process. It seems like it's like, well, time for the next.
Well, if it's not McDaniel, would you? Are you like they in your mind? Do you think they have to take somebody that's experienced is an experienced play caller on the NFL level, or would you be okay with them getting a young up and comer like quarterback coach?
Oh no, I don't want Arthur Smith. I don't want Arthur Smith. I wouldn't mind giving Zach Robinson another chance. I know he was at the Rams, has some experience with Goff. Honestly, it's probably not a very popular one, but Mike Kefka, I mean, I feel like he did pretty decent. I mean, he was calling plays and the head coach for that last stretch for them, and he might deserve another opportunity. I don't know if it would be with the Lions, but I would lean experience for sure. Because
he certainly took it to the Lions.
Yeah, that's why I got the interview, right? All these people that they're interviewing, I mean, they've kind of have experience against. So they played the Steelers and Arthur Smith. They, training camp with the Dolphins. Zach Robinson has experience with Dolphins. Brad Holmes. I mean, I don't know. They're not trying to go outside of the tree of no. Let's put it that way. They want to have some form of connection. I feel like.
Yeah,
and that's we didn't even mention the Lions' former quarterback,
David Blau.
David Blau. He was probably going to get the job because the Commanders gave him that job quick. They're like, nah, don't even go interview. Just come here. We'll keep you. If it works out he could be a head coach in 2 years. That's how crazy time goes.
Yeah, I mean, people are comparing him that he could be the next Ben Johnson.
I'd say he's more Kevin O'Connell. Like O'Connell was a third-round pick with the Patriots or something way back in the day, and super smart, moved up the ranks pretty quick. I mean, you never know if it works out for him.
Yeah, we'll see. I know fans weren't really too excited when his
I wasn't either. But as it evolved, as I thought about it more and it evolved, I'm like, he knows Goff, he knows the receivers, he knows Campbell. It's kind of surprising that he got to start in coaching. I think he maybe got like a low level with Lions at one point. Maybe not, but if he didn't, it's surprising that he didn't start on their staff. To be honest with you, with the former player feel and all that. But We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, but there wasn't room,
Yeah, there probably wasn't room.
Because I mean, Brunel was the quarterback coach. Ben Johnson was obviously the coordinator,
and I think the
so
backup quarterback
maybe there just wasn't a spot
was
for him.
the backup quarterback coach was the Ohio State quarterback.
Yeah, he ended up going to the
The
Bears.
Bears, that's their
Following Ben Johnson.
passing coordinator or something. He got a title promotion when he went.
Well, I think he got named quarterback coach. I think he moved up from assistant quarterback coach.
Right.
To
I'm thinking of
the
receiver and Randall L.
Oh, Randall L.
Yeah, because
he got bumped up. I think pass game coordinator
and assistant head coach. I'm pretty sure.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, you got
they made get that as
promotion.
well. But that goes back to what we talked about, like all the, it wasn't just the coordinators that left. It was a ton of the assistant coaches too, and position.
It was a miracle they kept Hank Fraley. I mean, on the offensive line.
Yeah, he almost. I mean, Seattle almost.
Seattle.
So
yeah,
they had to give him a bump and name him run game coordinator.
And he's getting no interviews this year, so that must mean that he's happy and good with it, I guess. I feel
like people don't think he did that well this year. That's the other thing. I talked about that on my other podcast with Brian, and because you never heard his name pop up this year, good or bad. You would have forgot that he was even on the staff because he just wasn't mentioned.
Right.
Like when play calling got taken away from Morton, like it was never talked about. Like, well, why not have Fraley take over? So Campbell can stay. Just being the head coach. Like that was never mentioned. I don't even know if it was ever asked by anybody in the media. I never saw anything about it. So it is interesting. Like you said, he hasn't been talked about at all with any jobs outside of the the team, and obviously he's not being looked at as a potential offensive coordinator for the Lions.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Yeah. So let's move on from Well, let's move on from the coaching search, and next part of your article, you talked a lot about free agency. Where do you think where do the Lions kind of sit in terms of kind of their cap money, and who are some free agents that you think maybe they should be targeting?
So they're gonna have to do a lot of work to get to the money. Like I think right now they're around maybe 20 or less, but like you got like I think Taylor Decker is going to retire, so that should free up a little over $11 million. I think it's all nerdy and stuff, but like cap conversions and percentages of what they can push forward. Like I don't think they'll probably push like all of Goff's money, but I think they'll push some. I think Penei Sewell's an option for that as well. So they'll build up the cap space, and I think they're going to let veterans go. I don't think Alex Anzalone is going to be back. I don't think DJ Reader is going to be back. I think Cladino Howland's going to price himself out. Amik Robinson, see you later. Marcus Davenport, see you later. And,
let's hope Davenport is a see you later.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think they'll bring back some of their younger guys. Like I think they're going to pick Roy Lopez over DJ Reader. I mean, he did pretty good, and I think they'll give him like a nice 2-3 year deal, keep him around. Khalif, I think they'll give him a 1 year, stay with us, be our wide receiver 4 deal. Rocky Sin, small deal, Malcolm Rodriguez to compensate for losing Alex Anzalone, small deal, stuff like that internally. But if they're going to go outside, like I feel like they've never really been like the free agent attack team, But I would attack needs, and with the money that was created and whatnot in that article, like I think they could afford like a Trey Hendrickson. Like I know to me that's kind of been a joke the past 2-3 years. Oh yeah, put 2 crazy edge rushers together, but I think it's possible because on Spot Track, his market evaluation was like 2 years, like $50 million. And I think they could do it. I really do. I think they could attack that, have 2 stud edge rushers, and hopefully Aleem would bounce back. Tyleek Williams shows development in a second year, and I think that defensive line could be nasty. But like I said, it's probably more of a dream than anything, but I feel like it's possible. What do you think about that?
I mean, they're going to have to do something in terms of their pass rush or their coverage. Like you got to go one or two. If you're not going to, put a lot of resources into your secondary and hope that guys come back from injury, well, as we talked about with like Lee McNeil, like if you're going to depend on Branch to come back from an Achilles and Kirby to come back from that knee,
Yeah.
he might never be the same. Same
Yeah,
with
that's what it
Branch.
sounds like. Yeah.
And you don't know what you're getting from Arnold and Rakestraw. Like those guys still haven't shown anything consistently. I know we both kind of liked where Arnold kind of felt like maybe he was headed. It felt like he was starting to kind of develop a little bit, and then he had the shoulder injury. So I mean, but still, we haven't seen it, on a full season basis. And Rakestraw, we haven't seen anything from. And if Robertson's gone, I mean, your secondary could be, if you look at it a glass half empty, scenario, like that secondary could be a complete disaster next year.
Yeah, it could.
So you're going to have to do something. If you're not going to put a ton of resources, a ton of money into your secondary, the other route you can go is to get another edge rusher and just try to get to
the trenches,
quarterback.
Right?
Get two dominant pass rushers and try to go that route to help your secondary so they don't have to cover as long.
I mean, look at the Houston Texans. I mean, Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson. That's like money. That's why they probably have a real chance of making the Super Bowl. I mean, you just never know. But I don't know. Like I said, in free agency, I would want to focus on the trenches so that in the draft you can fill those other needs and not feel like you're reaching. So if Taylor Decker's retiring, I feel like they'll move Penny Sewell to left tackle. On the Colts, Braden Smith, who's been I'd say pretty consistently a top 10 right tackle for many years. I think they should sign him. And he's like 29 going into his age 30 season. Was a little banged up last year. That's kind of a theme of the guys that I've targeted because they should be a little bit cheaper.
It's kind of a Brad Holmes theme. So
but they're a little bit cheaper. Like, you can kind of fit it in the budget. But I think if you had Penny Sewell and Braden Smith at right tackle, I mean, we know how strong right tackle is in the NFC North. So, I mean, it's paramount to keep that strength, and going to another rookie, I don't know. I don't love it. And I believe in the guards. I believe in Mahogany, and I believe in Kate Ratledge. So that leaves center, and you could draft a center, but the third guy I would target was on the Panthers. He started since week 2. Their starter got hurt. He didn't give up a sack all year. His name's Cade Mays. He's big. They're like big centers. He's like 6'6", 325. I think, and his market evaluation on Spot Track was 3 for $36, which is expensive. So maybe they can get a little bit cheaper, but if the Panthers don't sign him because they have another center already. So I don't know. I think the realistic options, Braden Smith, I didn't mention it, his market evaluation on Spot Track was like 3 for $40. So that's kind of just taking the Decker money and replenishing it back into the line. So like I said, I would go big fish hunting. I feel like that's what they need.
I think
they have so many young guys, and it's cool, and you want to develop. But when you're a win now team, it's time to win now. So, and they have been, but it's time to you want to push it across the finish line.
Yeah. Do you think there's any shot that not only does Decker come back, but Ragnow comes back?
I don't think Ragnow's coming back at all. I think it's just done. I kind of sound like there's some spilled milk between him and the team, and once that hamstring and all of that. I could see Decker. I wouldn't be shocked at all. Maybe one more year, but like I said, if he's retiring, maybe you do draft the tackle and all that, and have someone in place because you don't believe in Manu or whatever. But I don't know. Like I said, if he's retiring, I'd much rather go the veteran route this
What do you think happened with Ragnow? What are your thoughts on that whole deal? Because in my mind, if he had it set in his mind that he was coming back, I'm not talking about his body and how his body was going to react. I'm just talking mentally. He mentally made the decision to come back.
He had been working out. He had been going crazy.
What it's not is he hurt his hamstring towards the end of the training, coming back. And we know what the dude's nuts, man. What the stuff that he has played with,
broken throat.
That's why. And he tore his pec last year and played through it. I mean, I think he tore his pec barely halfway through the season and played through that thing.
He's an absolute monster.
He's nuts. So I wonder if he just thought, man, this is a bad strain. This sucks, but I'm just going to fight through it. I'm just going to fight through it, and regardless, whatever, I'm just going to fight through it. I'm back. I'm coming back. I already announced it. I'm coming back. And then they do the physical, and they find a tear in his hand. What the hell? How do you not know? How do you not know that?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more to it. I remember how everyone in the chat reacted, in our group chat reacted when, oh, he's back. This is awesome. It's going to save it. And it just was over before you knew it. It just, I don't know. Like, it's so weird. But, like, regarding the offensive line, like, they don't probably want to start a rookie center. So, like,
no. Well, we saw what happened last year when they tried to go to Ratledge.
Right. That's what I was just going to mention. I don't want to put. He did 3 training camps practices at center, but like I do not want them to act like this is Frank Ragnow 2.0, first year at guard. Next year we'll put him at center, and just leave him alone. He played the most snaps, or top 2, I believe, either him or the Seahawks center. Like played the most snaps of any rookies this year. Like he looked good. You can see the ability. You can see what he needs to improve on. Coach him up. That's why you have Hank Fraley. I mean, we didn't see it this past year, but I feel like he had an impact on Tate, and just keep coaching him up. I mean, let's get him going. And then, like I said, I'm still a believer in Mahogany. I know we mentioned in the first show that we did together, Miles Frazier. I think he could, if Mahogany doesn't work.
Backup.
Like, I mean, he could develop into something, right? Like fifth rounders develop. So yeah, that's the thing. Like, is he going to develop? Is he not? But like, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is like, we don't have the time for the development anymore. The Giovanni, Manu, like, okay, it's either now or maybe next year or whatever. But like, you gotta be offensive tackle 3, and you gotta be able to be the 6th offensive lineman on the field. Like, you gotta show some stuff this year. So you got all these young guys. So they already have young guys. I mean, they could draft another one. But, like, attack free agency for vets, like, that are still young enough and good. That's just...
Yeah, the lifeblood of this team and has been since Cameron got here is the offensive line. You know, the trenches, but specifically the offensive line and running the football. And then play action off of that, having one of the top 5 run games in the game and then being able to play action off of that because Jared Goff is lethal.
And Penny Sewell's the best. So, I mean,
I just think where they're at now, I think you're right, man. I think even if we talk about Trey Hendricks, that is a dream. I think that's probably a pipe dream.
It's more of a dream. Like
realistically, it's probably not going to happen. They got to put the money in the offensive line.
It was also based on
because they got to get back to who they are.
Yeah, they got to get back to who they are. But the Hendricks thing, real quick though, is if you look at the free agent market, it's just not really many positions of need. So it's like, this is kind of the dude, but also positions of need is the offensive line, and it is the backbone of this team, and it is what is going to make or break the season. Because, I mean, Jared Goff didn't carry him, but like, for his production, like I said earlier, top 3 production. They got the 9 and 8 with no offensive line. He was top 5 in getting sacked or something. We were like 38. So, I mean, what you have to fix. I mean, it's not receiver. I mean, could you use a better future tight end too, or a security blanket for Laporta? Yeah, but like, it's not running back. We didn't mention David Montgomery. Who knows about that? We'll get to that in a minute.
What do you think about David Montgomery and where things are headed there? Brad Holmes' comments at the press conference that weren't very exactly great in terms of thinking that he's coming back and could be a huge part of their plans.
I mean, I would just keep him because it only saves like $4 million, but that's just me being selfish. If they want to be team players and he's a leader and all that, and he's just going to keep making weird Instagram posts and all that, maybe you can find a team that'll take him and you can get a 3rd round pick. I was thinking Cowboys, but they don't have a 3rd round pick. So if someone wants to give up a 3rd or something because we don't have one, I guess it would make sense. But I'd rather just keep him.
Yeah, I'd rather keep him too. Yeah. Because, I mean, a lot of it, they struggled this year, and they were down in games in the second half and in the fourth quarters way more than they've been in the past. And that's Montgomery time. Fourth quarter, he puts,
Ravens.
Your fourth, your 4-minute offense, you're pounding the football, you're wearing the defenses down, you're trying to put games away. That's where Montgomery comes through. Yeah, and he didn't get those carries because they didn't have the leads in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. No, he's a heck of a player. Seems like he's really well respected, good leader. I mean, good culture guy. I mean, they'll do right by him. So if he wants out and he's gonna make sad Instagram posts and want to leave, I mean, that's fine. But who are you gonna start for? Because You're just going to be in a committee anywhere you go. Maybe it'll be closer to 50-50 instead of 65-35. But no matter where you go, like you're not going to be some bell cow more than likely.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's best for both sides that he stays here. And I go back. What frustrated me with him is like they talked about before the season having Gibbs and Montgomery in the offense at the same time, having personnel packages where they're both in there. The only time I ever really saw that is when they did like Wildcat with Montgomery. I'm like, no, that's not what I know. That's not what I wanted. What I wanted was Montgomery in the backfield and Gibbs in the slot.
Yeah,
I don't know if we ever even saw that.
Occasionally, but the thing with Gibbs is like they never really moved him out to the slot. They would keep him in the backfield. He'd run and he would catch a 3-yard pass, and it would be like, he had like all those games. Like I saw his stats. He had 77 catches, but he only had like what was it, like maybe it was 700 maybe? No, I think it was like 600 yards. So like maybe 650, somewhere in that ballpark. But like that's kind of crazy. Like 77 catches, and I mean, he's probably second.
Was it week 1? He had 10 catches for 30 yards.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was like an NFL record. Like, I mean, he's too explosive for that. You got to draw that up, and that's where Mike McDaniel would be real nice. Yeah. Because look at Devon A-Chain on the Dolphins.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, that's the thing. Like, he can line up in the slot. Doesn't mean he has to. I mean, start in the slot doesn't mean he has to end in the slot. I mean, there's so many things you could have done. Just have Montgomery. Montgomery's your primary back, and then Gibbs in the slot. Like, there's so many things they could have done out of that personal package. It just felt like, man, it just felt like they needed something, man. They really missed, an experienced play caller. They missed Ben Johnson. I mean, there's just we tried to avoid it. We didn't want to say it going into the season. We didn't want to say it into the season, but now that it's over, man, they flat out, they missed Ben Johnson. There's no other way around it.
Well,
it is what it is. But now they got time. They got to fix it. They got to fix that. They got to fix that issue, and they got to utilize these guys, man. And I think Montgomery is one of those guys that, man, he's too talented, man, to not use as much as they could have this season. So hopefully, new offense coordinator can fix that. Hopefully they hire a new offense coordinator and he talks to Montgomery like right off the bat, be like, hey, man, I'm going to use you a ton. Like these are all the plans I have for you. These are all the personal packages I have for you. Like you're going to be used. You're going to be happy. Like everything's going to be good. Like you hope that's what transpires. But
there's so many needs to attack, and like we're just waiting.
Why create another one?
Yeah. No, I'm just saying we've been in the playoffs the past few years, and the season gets dragged out longer, and then right after it ends, it's like, oh, here's draft time. But now it's just this dead period of playoff football, and you're just like, there's so many things they got to do, but they can't do any of them yet. Like, we'll see what happens.
So finally, the draft. Obviously, a lot of that's going to depend, what free agents, they look for and what free agents they get and who they end up keeping around, what cuts they make, whether Decker retires, all that factors in. It's kind of hard to really make any predictions or say almost like really what positions they should keep on, because you don't know what they're going to have going into it. But just a general outlook. What kind of you thinking? What maybe positions they could be looking at? Because they're drafting higher than they have in quite a while.
Yeah, looking at things. I hear a linebacker in this draft super deep, so they probably don't have to take one in the first. But an Alex Anzalone replacement would be kind of nice, like a Sony from Ohio State. Sony Styles, I think his name is. That'd be awesome. He's a former safety, has that coverage ability of Anzalone. That'd be a lot of, I think he'd slot right in next to Campbell. Be a lot of fun. I mean, obviously there's some edge rushers that it sounds like everything's going top 14. But they pick 17. So maybe they trade back, try to recoup a 3rd round pick, tight end. I wanted to cut Brock Wright, but apparently his money's just guaranteed, so it'd just be like a waste. So I didn't get to cut Brock.
Because his injury was pretty
yeah,
so he might not even.
It sounds like he was going to come back for the playoffs, so maybe it was a little bit minor. But if you could bump him to tight end 3, draft a guy. I hear it's a deep tight end class too, maybe the 3rd rounder or something. Get a guy developed. You never know if you're going to lose Sam Laporta money wise. I mean, got to get some other options in the building that aren't Shane Zylstra or the retirement squad. So I wouldn't mind to say
guys out the street for sure.
Yeah. like I said, you mentioned secondary. Maybe they take another corner in there, maybe the fourth, fifth, or something. Safety. Some secondary help. So, if they need an RB2, maybe they take one of those. Or they can sign a guy again. But I could see him taking a quarterback too late. Maybe the Penn State kid who failed this year, but I don't know. There's a lot of options. Like obviously, I didn't even mention offensive line because in my dream scenario, you take care of that in advance. But they could definitely go tackle.
Rookies, but yeah. I mean,
Edge,
I don't know. I mean, it's going to be tough to get. It always is tough to get a tackle in free agency, man. Like
it is.
It's rare to be able to get a high quality starting tackle in free agency, and when there are ones available, man, it's a bidding war to get them.
It's gonna be an expensive year. The Packers have some work to do too. Their left tackle's gonna probably get over 20 a year. There's some guys out there, and I'm kind of hoping because he was hurt. I would like Braden Smith if Decker does retire, but like I said, there's other bets out there. I mean, like you said, it's always tough. I mean, these guys are. It's like what the least deep position in the NFL, and it's the most needed. So it's just like you draft, you try to develop them, you sign them, you do whatever you can. But
that's going back to Brad Holmes. I mean, obviously he had that draft where he had the 5 picks in the top 50 a couple years ago where he just hit, man. And everybody was saying, "Oh, you're drafting these guys too high. You're drafting Gibbs too high. You're drafting Jack Campbell too high." And I mean, he nailed it. I mean, he absolutely nailed that draft. But since then, not so much. And really, a lot of it, like the 3rd, 4th, 5th picks that haven't panned out. And you brought it up, Giovanni. Like he's a guy that like you need him to be able to ideally he would be like ready to step in for Decker if you're retired. Like ideally, like if you're going to spend that type of pick and you're thinking you're going to develop him, now should be the time where he'd be ready to step in, and he's just clearly not.
Yeah.
And it's and the Hendon Hooker one I understood.
Just take a shot.
Taking a shot at a guy. I mean, if he had not got blown his ACL, he probably would have been a 1st-round pick. You're able to get him in the 3rd round. I had no problem with that. Obviously, it didn't work out, but just some of these later picks, man, that just haven't panned out, man. And they need these guys to be depth. Like, and that goes back to like the having to pull guys off the street to come play for you, whether it's tight end, whether it's safety, corner. You shouldn't have to do that. Your 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round picks that over the last few years should be those guys that are stepping in those spots, and they're not because
in some cases they are, because you got the mahogany and they give up quite a bit to get Tesla and all that, and he's flashed, but only had 16 catches, and it's tough. It's like it's not as pretty as drafting 4 Pro Bowlers or all pro level talents, is it? But what I loved about that draft is going into it, they tagged the premium positions the years before, the left tackle, the edge rusher, and all these positions that were capped out at like $22 million. They just drafted these 4 studs that you could fit into a cap structure with those other studs you drafted. But now it's getting to the point where you have to pay that and you have to fit everything else on top of it. So including Goff's contract. So it's like, I don't know. Like you said about the draft, though, he hasn't completely nailed it. So it's like, what are you going to do? But it's just so many, you're just throwing darts at the board, And
at some point,
he was hitting center every time. But now you're kind of spreading it out. But like I said, I still believe in Arnold. I think that's going to work out. You got other guys.
You gotta hope you can get something from Rakestraw. Like that's a wild card.
I think they should. I mean, like it was kind of a freak thing. I mean, he was going to play through it, and that guy's on Twitter getting bashed all the time, defending himself and defending his teammates. And I like him. I mean, it seems to have a good, at least social media personality or whatever. But I mean, it sucks that that's happened to him because he is kind of tiny, but he can just play, covering the slots and all that. I think it should work out, but
because if he could step in and be what Amik Robertson was, kind of be that role
or better,
huge or better, obviously better. But I'm just talking like, the floor that should be his floor. Like if he can step in and be an Amik Robertson, like he's got to find a way. I mean, it's not like he's purposely getting hurt, but
it sucks.
You need him on the field.
He was going to start week 2 of his rookie year, and he had a hamstring injury warming up on the field, and it's been ever since. Like, and then Amik did so well in that year that he just never got the job back, and then he earned the job back, and then was going to earn the job back. It sounds like through training camp, and it was going to be his, and Amik was just going to be a backup outside corner and shoulder. So it's tough. Like, especially when these guys get hurt, like, Levi Onwuzurike, he looked good last year, and they gave him like a nice 1-year deal, and then boom, there goes his ACL. So, Josh Pascal never came back. It was like an off the field injury or something. So those are 2 second-round picks right there, and a third where it's like, yeah, we can bring you back for the minimum, but I was hoping I'd have to pay you more.
Yeah.
So, and
those are aspects of the draft where there's nothing you can do about that. I mean, the guys get hurt. It's just it happens. It's
Laporta and Branch, those guys were amazing rookies. They're better than Gibbs and Jack Campbell, and now the circle comes around. They're the ones that are hurt. These guys are first team All-Pro or just the biggest snub off the All-Pro team. And what are you going to do? I mean, it would be nice if everyone had their best season at the same time, but,
well, happen. Well, we could wrap it up with this Lions talk. We're going to get into the NFL playoffs just a little bit before we log off here. But you brought up the fact that they were able to draft those guys when they got the 4 Pro Bowlers in that draft, and as you mentioned, you don't have to pay them very much. But now it's starting to come around where you're going to have to pay all those guys, and we're starting to see that now. The phrase is the window open? Is our Super Bowl window still open? And there's people who think I know Brian talks about it all the time. He thought their best chance was the 23 championship game. That was their best chance.
You made it there. Of course, that's what.
But it's just the aspect of are they going to be able to get back there again because of you're going to have to start paying all these guys now.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. No. Of course, the best chance is always the first one when you're as close as you can get, right? It was 24/7. I mean, I was ready to book my flight. I was going to be outside because I can't afford a Super Bowl ticket, but I was going to be outside the stadium. I thought it was happening, but of course. But, I mean, to say that was the best chance when you just went 15-2 last year, I mean, that's, it's tough. I mean, the best chance is always going to be, hopefully, and I think right now in this scenario is always going to be the next chance. So I was going to this year, I had high hopes. Next year, the schedule's way different than this year.
Yes.
It's night and day. If they don't go for 13-4, there probably should be some questions. Just calling it out now. But there's work to build that roster back to get to that point too. So you gotta attack all the phases: the free agency, the special teams, the free agency, the draft, all these things you got to take care of.
And a coordinator,
coordinator, yeah, just
it's an incredibly huge.
It's a long list.
Season. Yeah,
it's a long list, but the schedule says that you should attack this. So, you should attack this year. I mean, what are the Vikings going to do at quarterback? It sounds like they're not all about J.J. McCarthy. What are, Matt LaFleur's going to be coaching on an expiring deal potentially? What are we doing? Just fire him, whatever. The Bears are going to have that the Bears are going to have that first place scheduled next year. And I can honestly, last year the division was flipped, and then it flipped 100% this year. I can see it happening again.
I agree 100%. I agree.
There's a lot that goes into this. I mean, this division is so close. Like I said earlier, 4 top, in my opinion, top 10 coaches. I mean, it's.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild. The Lions were 2-4 in the division. Their 2 wins were against the division champ.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. And it could just completely flip again. And I think it will. I think it will.
24, I think it will too. They went 6-0 against the division in 24. They went 2-4 this year. If they go 4-2 next year or 5-1, I mean, whoever does that is the favorite. These games are everything, those division games. And it hasn't been that way for a long time. So it's cool.
Yeah. So the aspect that the window being open or being shut, I think
so
I think it's wide open, but it's going to depend on what they do this offseason. Obviously,
it's wide open.
I think it's the biggest offseason by far of this regime.
Right. It's wide open if you attack. You got to attack the trenches, and then you can't predict health, right? So if Brian Branch doesn't come back till week 10 next year, I mean, okay, but so you get to fill that. But hopefully, we haven't heard anything about Kirby. So like we mentioned the safety talk earlier, that's gonna be a huge factor. But you got to attack these other spots too. I mean, you paid Hutchinson, you paid your guys. You're not the Dallas Cowboys of paying people. You don't wait to the last minute. So you're like the Eagles. So you keep doing that. Like when I wanted to do this article, I was looking into like how I could pay those guys, but it wasn't really an option on the machine I was using and whatnot. But it sounds like Jack Campbell's going to get probably $90 million. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs is probably going to get at least 20 a year. I mean, it's going to be expensive, but those are the guys you build around. So.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's an incredibly big offseason for the Lions, and you mentioned their schedule. I'm sure if you haven't looked at it, go ahead and look at it because it's a last place schedule. They need for a team of this caliber, a roster of this caliber, to have that type of schedule. It's huge. It's huge. Like you said, they got to go for it. Like this is an opening for them. To flip things around and win the North again next season. Yeah. And they got to attack this offseason. They got to be aggressive. And I think they got to be bold, man. They might have to make some moves that you're not expecting.
That's why I was trying to be a little bold with like Trey Henderson or something, because you got to like push in the chips. You can't just keep holding them in and be like, we're going to draft, we're going to develop. It's time. There's no excuse not to go 13-4 next year. None. Like you get to play the Cardinals, the Titans, the Giants. All three teams fired their head coach. All three teams have top 5 picks. The Rams would have been if they would have beaten the Vikings, which I would rather win games, but still, if they would have a better record than the Vikings, they would have had to play the Rams again. But instead, they get the Cardinals. Like you gotta take advantage of that. That's a gift.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's get into a little bit of the NFL playoffs. We're going to get too in depth in this as we're kind of getting along with this show, and obviously this show was about the Lions, but I do want to talk a little bit and just get your thoughts on the NFL playoffs. And we look back at last weekend, and what were the biggest things that stood out to you from last weekend? A lot of really great games. But what was something, some of your biggest takeaways from the first round of the playoffs?
A fun Packers collapse. F the Bears. Stafford's a dog. That was an incredible comeback late. The 49ers are kind of like the Lions of last year, but they got to win their playoff game. I mean, they're so beat up. I mean, that's cool. I mean, the Eagles
got even more beat up. I mean,
the Eagles are weird. Like, what a weird team. Thank God they're out of the playoffs. Like, I didn't really watching them. The Jags and Bills game was a lot of fun. I know the joke going around was Tony Romo being like, both of these teams could play in the Super Bowl, Jim, or make the Super Bowl.
He kept going on. Like, the Jags are for real. Jim, I keep telling you, the Jaguars are for real. Yeah, they're the 3 seed, dude. They won 13 games. Yeah, we know. They're good. They're a good team.
I know we got the most hate for it, but I know we got the most hate for it, but it's like the most sense he made all day because, of course, both of those teams have the ability to make the Super Bowl based off what they showed this year. Maybe, like, I believe in those teams more than I believed in the Patriots or, Chargers. Like, I don't know why that game wasn't the main event, but whatever. They put it on on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest takeaway for me was the Bears-Packers game. I mean, my goodness. I mean, the Packers to blow that, it just almost the same way they blew the division just a few weeks ago. I mean, they have a huge fourth quarter lead, and to blow it like that, like it's funny. I posted the meme about like, there's you're upset that the Bears advanced in the playoffs, but on the other hand, a complete choke job by the Packers. It's kind of it makes you feel good a little bit as a Lions fan, but just. I mean, there's so many things to take out from that game, but Caleb Williams, and I've I've never been a big Caleb Williams fan. Like I've been waiting for him to have that big, show me game. And this was it, man. That throw that he made on 4th down off his back foot, I've never seen a throw like that. That was unbelievable. He just dropped it in a bucket, falling away off his back foot. Like, it's windy, like everything's on the line. Your season's on the line, and just a perfect throw. Unbelievable.
You can't question that guy's talent. It's weird.
No.
Like, if he's not being pressured, he'll miss a guy by like 10 yards. But, like when he has to have that focus and that pinpoint accuracy, he's a baller. Yeah, he should be the first Bears quarterback to ever pass for 4,000 yards in a season, probably next year. I know he's a couple short this year, but he has real talent. And with Ben Johnson with him, that's going to be scary for a while. But I hope they fail.
Yeah. And what do you think about the Packers? Coming off of that the way they blew the division and the way they blow the playoff game. Obviously, they spend a lot to get Micah Parsons, and he tears his ACL. They didn't win a game after that injury. Where do you think they stand? Going into next season,
they got a lot of work to do. I mentioned earlier, I think their left tackle Walker, they got to pay or not pay him. They got a lot of key free agents, a couple other ones. Like, they got dudes to pay. They got high payroll, with Love and Parsons. They're interesting. I feel like it's weird because they can't go into a rebuild because they just traded away those picks. But I feel like once he tore his ACL, of course you regret the trade then. But I felt like they're going into this year, I thought they were going to be last, and they got Parsons, and I'm like, okay, maybe they'll be second or third. But I don't know, it just played out completely different than we all expected, of course. But I don't know, that roster, there's a lot to it. They got a lot of cheap guys that are going to get paid soon. They got their defensive coordinator is probably going to get a head coaching job this cycle. Jeff Hafley. I think he's going to get one. He's interviewed for everybody. Maybe LaFleur does want him to fire him. I don't know. Because he can get any job he wants. Kind of like John Harbaugh. And probably get more money.
He's definitely. They're not going to fire him now, obviously, but he's on the hot seat, no question, going into the next season. I think they have to get past the first round of the playoffs next year before it's going to be gone.
And he's been a 7-seed merchant. 3 straight years they made the playoffs as a 7 seed. If that didn't exist, he'd probably been fired already, which is crazy to think about. But I still believe in him. I know I talk crap about him or whatever. I'd probably rank him 4th out of the division coaches, but I still think he's a top 10 guy. I think he does a lot of things, but his game management is not it. So we'll see.
And there's something to these collapses too, man.
Yeah.
He
used to be a chicken. He used to be scared to do things, and then Dan Campbell punched him in the mouth so many times those first couple of years that he was the guy that started going for it on 4th down all the time against us. But he would just punt and he'd just kick a field goal and miss it. It's yeah, dummy, because you should have went for it on 4th and 2.
Yeah, they are a very interesting team going into next season because it feels like their coach is definitely on the hot seat. Jordan Love still feels like, is he the guy? Is he not the guy? I think they're betting that he is the guy, but I don't know. I don't know if he is. I still don't. I'm still not 100% sold on him yet.
Talk about another quarterback that's amazing at throwing off his back foot. Yeah. He's great at that, just like Williams, but I don't know.
It just feels like, man, you go into you go into the second half or 4th quarter with a 15-point lead, but to go in, to halftime as dominant as they looked, man, you got to score more than 6 points. You got to get a touchdown on the board, man. You got the Bears on the ropes, man. You're supposed to be the guy. You're supposed to be a top 10 quarterback, man. This is the playoffs. You're the quarterback of the Packers, man. You're several years in now. You got to get it done. He just felt like he just completely disappeared in the second half.
Yeah, they didn't really give him many opportunities either. It felt like at times, they did, but they should have ran it more at times. And when they passed, they should have ran. When they ran, they should have passed. They gave the Bears all that clock at the end of the game just for free. It's just what are you doing?
Yeah, but totally mismanaged, and Yeah, I mean, and it's wild, man. Their biggest rival to collapse and lose the division, and then just a few weeks later, you get the rematch in the playoffs, an opportunity. Kind of like the Tigers did with the Guardians, where
Yeah.
they let the division slip away to the Guardians, but then they got to go play them in the
15-game
playoffs and they
lead.
beat them. So who cares? Who cares that you
Yeah.
lost the division if you beat them in the playoffs? You're the one that's still standing,
And
and they
that's
had
the
the
thing, though.
opportunity
The
to do
Packers,
that, and they collapsed again.
yep. And the
It's
Packers,
crazy.
before that game, had beaten them for like 7 straight years. I think David Montgomery's whole entire time with the Bears, they never beat him once. Like, they've been whooping them for a long time. So, especially since like 2011, 2010, the last time the Bears were any good. So, like, since that stretch and prime Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love, they've been whooping them. So, to win those 2 straight games and Ben Johnson, like, it's hard not to like Ben Johnson. I mean, that energy, F the Packers, like, they don't like each other, and, sometimes that's okay. Not everyone has to be friends.
Hey, there's not enough of that in the
Mhm.
NFL. You don't need everybody doing it. I don't need every
Right.
coach doing it, and I definitely don't want a coach that's not him and doing it, and it comes off as fake and that.
Mhm.
But he comes off very genuine. Like
Yeah, you don't need
that's
Jim.
real. Whether that's
Yeah.
and you can I kind of look at it both sides with that. It's like,
No, me too.
yeah, you still haven't won anything yet. To kind of have that bravado.
Mhm.
And I felt like the Lions were getting that a little bit. We're kind of
Mhm.
getting that cockiness and that bravado when you haven't won anything. And I think the Lions kind of got humbled this season. I hope they did.
I hope so.
And
It's kind of
I
players they
wonder if,
have, though, right?
Ben Johnson's got that's coming, at some point. Maybe it's next season, where
Ben
he,
Johnson has that Amon-Ra St. Brown in him where
yeah.
he'll talk that smack and, like, I like it. But
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, I
I
mean,
just wish we went to the
He talked
Jaguars.
smack about the Packers going into the season. And, I mean, they backed it up. They won the division. They beat them, 2 out of 3 times, and they beat them in the playoffs, and they sent the Packers home. So he backed it up as of now. But let's go ahead and look at the divisional playoffs that are coming up this weekend. We got 4 games coming up, and man, it was funny going into the playoffs because the 2 teams that had the number 1 seeds and had the bye weeks were the Broncos and the Seahawks. Just 2 teams nobody would have predicted that before the year, and I wonder how many people really believe in them to make a run to the Super Bowl as the number 1 seeds. But obviously, they're going to have home field throughout. So let's go ahead and start off. Like I said, we don't have to get super in depth with these, but just kind of a quick thought and maybe a prediction of each game. Let's just start at the top here. Bills going into Denver. Buffalo, I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Dustin, because I saw this earlier in the week, but I believe Buffalo was 1.5-point favorite. I don't know if that changed throughout the week, but
I don't
that was
know.
the initial line, I
That
thought.
sounds crazy to me.
It's wild to
That's insane.
the 1 seed to be the underdog, but that's what it was going in. I don't think it moved.
You remember that Bills Texans game like a month ago where Josh Allen was getting murdered by the Texans?
Is that what you're seeing in this one?
I kind of see it being like not a 10 out of 10 of that, but like the Broncos defensive line's maybe like 1 step behind the Texans, and I kind of see them whooping them. I don't know, like what this found, like maybe like 27-17 or something, Broncos, and maybe Doug. God, I keep calling him Doug. I keep thinking of the basketball player. Maybe Sean McDermott gets fired.
I mean, we could see that. It's hard for me to bet against Josh Allen. There's
Me
just
too.
something about it, like because it just feels like the path is there for them, even though they have to go on the road the entire way and potentially win 3 straight road games to get there. But there's no Mahomes, no Burrow, no Lamar, and it just feels like the path is
But there
wide
is
open.
defense.
There is a lot of defense. Yeah,
A lot of defense.
that's what it is this year. It's about the
Yeah.
defenses, especially in the AFC. And but you're going with the Broncos. You think that D line is going to dominate? I think Allen's going to make enough plays, man.
I'm prepared to be wrong.
I think he's going to have enough magic and put the team on his back once again and get past Denver, man. But that's a good one. I think that might be the best game of the weekend, personally. That's the one I'm looking forward to the most, anyways. That's the first one. So we're opposite. Good. That's a good start. So the next game we got 49ers Seahawks, a game we saw just a few weeks ago, which was a real clunker. That Seattle won to be able to get the 1 seed and win the division. Where do you see this one going?
This is a tough one as well. The Sam Darnold injury report isn't too lovely, but he'll definitely play. I think the Seahawks will take care of it. I think they'll win and move on to the next round and continue the home playoff games.
It's hard to see the 49ers being able to find a way to win another one, with all those
It feels that way.
injuries, now Kittle out. Like, it's tough to see them continuing that run. I think it comes to an end here too. I got to go with Seattle. The Darnold injury report is worrisome though.
Yeah.
But man, there's just too much, man. There's just too many injuries for the 49ers to try to go into Seattle and win that game. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I'll say this though. I want one of those two teams to make the Super Bowl. That's what I want. So I would love for Christian McCaffrey to win a Super Bowl, or I like the Seahawks head coach, and I like their defense, and I like a lot of their skill players. So I want one of those two teams to make the Super Bowl. So whoever wins, please take care of business.
Oh yeah, because you don't want. Yeah, we'll get into that.
We'll get to it. Yeah.
Next game we got up is Texans Patriots, and man, that Texans defense, as we mentioned earlier, is a sight to behold. And what do you think about this one, Dustin? Can Drake May, carry that offense against this defense, or is it going to be the Texans defense that prevails in this one?
I got the Texans going all the way to the Super Bowl, so I think they're going to take care of it. I think they got the best unit of any of these 8 teams, including the Rams offense. Like, the defense is that good. I expect them to win. It is on the road, so it's tough. It should be cold. I'm not sure what the weather is supposed to be like, but I think they'll take care of business. What do you think?
It's hard to go against that Texans defense, man. It is, like you said. I think you're right there. I think if you look at the 8 teams left, there's 16 different groups, offense, defense. That's the best group. That Texans defense is the best group. But I'm not a fan of CJ Stroud, man. And it has nothing to do with Ohio State or any of that stuff.
I get it.
Because I thought he was phenomenal his rookie year, and I thought he was going to be one of the greats.
Yeah.
And he is not. The last 2 years, man, in that game against Pittsburgh, he looked like garbage. Like, he looked awful. Like, some of those, one of the fumbles he had where he drops the snap, picks it back up, and then starts to run towards the line. Like, it looked like a JV high school quarterback, man. It was so bad.
I think I was just going to say, I think that offensive line, even if their defense is the best unit, then their offensive line might be the worst unit of anything left. So I think it's really messed with them. But, like,
I think it has too.
They put the
going back to last year, yeah.
They put the assets in the defense, and then they traded Tunsil to the Commanders, and they just kind of ripped that line apart, put some young guys on there, and I'm sure they're going to reattack it this year, but I mean, I'm sure they wish they would have done things a little differently.
That's what has me. Yeah, you think they're going to go to the Super Bowl, man?
Because the Patriots defense is legit too. Look what they did to Herbert, and there are no tackles. So I mean, like, I've been unrating the Patriots all year.
This could be a real low scoring game. This could come down to, what defense can get a score themselves to potentially win this one. Especially, I should have done checking the weather, but you definitely know it's going to be cold. I don't know if there's going to be any snow or not, but this is going to be a defensive battle. There's no question about it. I am really on the fence, man. I am really on the fence in this one.
I sounded confident, but I am too.
Yeah, it's just tough, man, because I really believe in the Texans defense. But I really do not believe in CJ Stroud and their offense. Mm-hmm. If I'm gonna have to pick one, I'm gonna go to the Texans. I think they can make more plays, potentially create more turnovers defensively. But man, I think it's an absolute toss-up. I really do think it's an absolute toss-up. But if I'm gonna have to pick one, I'm gonna go with the Texans.
Yeah.
And then the final one. Like you said, man, we don't want to see either one of these teams win. It's kind of like watching the Bears-Packers last week. The Rams-Bears. Lions former quarterback Stafford against the Lions former OC and Ben Johnson. This game's in Chicago. What do you think?
I lean Rams, but I kind of – I don't know. It's going to be a shootout. The Rams defense hasn't been as good as it was early on, and I don't know, maybe their defensive coordinator is worried about head coaching interviews, so that's something that the Bears don't have to worry about. Like, there's like 3 guys in the Rams that are interviewing for jobs. So, yeah, I'm gonna stick with my gut. It's been the Rams, but I think we get Rams Seahawks rematch from that really good Thursday night football game a month or two ago, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm leaning Rams too. I just think they're the better team. I do. I think the Rams are the better team. I think Stafford's got more experience. I think it's going to be the Rams. I do like that idea of the Rams Seahawk rematch because that might have been the game of the year, their game a few weeks back, and I would love to see that. I'm leaning Rams, and it is interesting. The two games on Sunday, they couldn't be any more opposite. The Texans Patriots is going to be an absolute defensive battle, and then Rams Bears should be an absolute shootout. So, going to be a very interesting group of games here, and it's going to be fun to watch, man. We'll see what happens. What is your ultimate Super Bowl pick?
I think it's going to be a defensive head coaching battle. Seahawks Texans. That's what I picked it before the playoffs, and I'm like, is this really what I think? And I'm like, yeah, it is, and it feels kind of weird, but that's what I think. What do you think happens if the Texans play the Bills? Because that game almost ended somebody's career earlier this year.
I don't.
You think he rebounds?
I don't love that rematch. I don't love that matchup for Buffalo. But I am picking Buffalo and the Rams for the Super Bowl. That is my Super Bowl pick.
Buffalo Rams.
That was my pick before the playoffs.
The NFL would probably prefer that.
They would.
I like mine.
So if you think it's scripted and you think all that crap, maybe I will be right just based on all that. Yeah. I don't think the NFL will want a Texans Seahawks Super Bowl.
It's weird.
Not a lot of stars.
Sam Darnold versus CJ Stroud.
Yeah, not exactly the most exciting.
Weird game.
As opposed to Stafford versus Josh Allen, but
those happen every once in a while though. We haven't had a real defensive Super Bowl in a while. So
you're right. This might just be the year of the defense.
It feels like to me. It just feels that way. Like looking at it, I'm like, I did pick the Jaguars over the Bills, and I was proven wrong again. So betting against him 3 times sounds pretty scary, referring to Josh Allen. But I mean, that team this should be their year. There's no Lamar, like you said. There's no Patrick Mahomes, and they have to go against the 2 best defenses in the NFL to get there, potentially, or the 3 best defenses, whatever combination. I mean, I know they beat the Patriots once, they split, but that's tough.
Yeah. So usually they got to go through the best quarterbacks, and especially the best quarterback in Patrick Mahomes.
The best quarterback.
They couldn't get past him. Just could not get past him in the playoff. Could beat him in the regular season. Could never.
Now it's your head coach's specialty that you have to get past.
Now
if he loses this game, do you think he's fired?
I always feel like it's tough to fire a head coach after a playoff win. You get a playoff win.
Yeah, but
it's tough in a 12-win season. I don't know, man. That's tough, but
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I think they would, and I think it probably jumps right up there with the Ravens of wow, this ain't the NFL of 8 years ago where it felt like every team had a good quarterback. I mean, there's so many situations that it just isn't it anymore. A lot of these guys just don't have it, I feel like. So if you can get one of those guys and coach them, I mean, those are the jobs, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. It'd be pretty fascinating to see who they would get. Do you go out and get a Mike, because a lot of them are going to be hired by then.
Well, the thing is last year was the cycle. We talked about earlier, that 2017, I mentioned the McVay and Shanahan. Last year was the Mike Vrabel, the Ben Johnson, the Liam Cohen, those guys. I felt like all 3 were going to be it, and it worked out. I mean, I know, that Jaguars job might be more of than Liam, but I mean, I felt like that job was A tier, and that's why I wanted Ben Johnson to go there so bad, and he didn't.
Now look at the Bears now.
Oh, man. Both jobs, both of them, incredible.
Yeah, I mean both teams had incredible seasons.
What was your Super Bowl pick? You said you had the Bills.
Yeah, I said Bills, Rams. Bills, Rams is my pick. Okay. You're going to the I'm going offense. You're going defense. Watch it be watch it be 49ers Bears or something, or 49ers Broncos or something. Neither one of us get any teams right.
Can you imagine 49ers Patriots? Give me a vomit bag of Tom Brady and tears.
Yeah,
Super Bowl 60, the 2 legacy.
His team and his boyhood team. Yeah, oh God, Jesus. Yeah, let's hope that doesn't happen. Well, we can go ahead and log off. Dustin, any final thoughts before we wrap this one up?
No, like I said, I think the Lions, there's a lot of work to do. I'm curious to see how free agency goes. I feel like we talked about everything that we could talk about. I mean, there's so much. But there's so much, but it's all going to wait because these playoffs are right here, and you got to get through the Super Bowl. So
yeah, it's I don't know, man. I went into the playoffs like, man, I knew I was gonna watch them, but like, man, am I gonna enjoy this? Like,
I haven't.
The games were good, man. The games the last two sucked, but the first 4 games last week were, I mean, just incredible. Every game came down to the wire, and I think we might be seeing a lot of those games again this weekend, man. I hope so. I hope they're all really good games and really fun to watch. So
it's weird. I allowed myself to enjoy like the AFC games, but when I'm watching the NFC, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that
like,
Rams Bears that's gonna be a tough watch. That's gonna be a tough watch. But we'll do it. We'll watch it. I'm sure we'll find a way to enjoy it. There's no doubt about it. But
football.
But that will do it. That will do it for us for Inside the Coach's Office. Thank you, Dustin, for joining me today.
Thank you.
Breaking down kind of what an Lions off season may look like, and taking a look at these playoffs. And should be a very exciting NFL playoff weekend. But for Dustin Whitehead, I'm Dan Murphy, and we'll see you Sunday night.